Petri here. Welcome everyone. Thanks for coming by. We're going to have a fun time. We're going to have a great time doing our painting today. We're going to draw and paint this gorgeous, kind of a simplified abstract painting. We're not going to get too involved in too many details. We're going to do the glazing technique, which everyone enjoys. So we're going to do the glazing technique here. And I'll explain every detail you need to know, every bit of technique and process that I use to get this painting done. You will have that. I'm also going to have the painting reference photo, actually, I should say. I will have the reference photo on camera, so you'll see the reference photo the whole time as we're working, so you can kind of follow along, and then you're going to actually take this painting and kind of do it the way you want to do it. I'm going to show you how I'm doing the painting, but as I go over the whole process, as we're working through this painting, I'm going to explain ways you can make it easier for yourself, or you can kind of make things less difficult with drawing or painting on this particular painting that we're going to do here. So just let's enjoy the process together. Let's have a fun time. And remember, it's just the next step in the process of getting better at watercolors, just working at our paintings, working at our compositions. We don't have to get worried, frustrated, angry. We don't have to throw our paintings and watercolor brushes and paints out the window. We get in here, we work at it, we try to get the best result we can each time we get together. So maybe sometimes when we get together, your paintings don't look so great. Not a problem. The next time you get together with me on YouTube here with all of us together, your painting might come out a lot better. So never worry about it if you do 4 or 5 paintings in a row that look terrible. You'll always eventually come up with a good painting after so many different paintings. And even the best painters in the world will tell you that they only were happy with only 1 out of 10 paintings most times. So if the greatest paintings that were created in the world by the best painters in the world, and the best painters in the world, the best watercolor artists in the world tell you they're only creating 1 out of 10 that they find are really good paintings that they've done, there's no reason why you can't have that same attitude. If you do 10 bad paintings, no problem. If the 11th one or the 12th one turns out good, you've succeeded. So always remember that. A lot of times when we sit down and we draw and we paint in watercolor, we have some really bad results. And I have the same thing happen to me all the time. Sometimes you'll see me have a bad painting once in a while, or maybe more often than not. I'm not sure what everyone's idea of my paintings are out there, but just to kind of keep it, humorous here a little bit, we all create some really, rough-looking paintings that we're not happy with. Don't worry about that. You just keep going on to the next painting. If you paint one side of the paper and it doesn't look good, flip your paper over, and then the next day or a couple days later, you paint another one on the other side. That's all it is. Just keep practicing, keep working at it. You're always going to improve week after week, month after month, and year after year. And if you're painting with us every week, and I hope you'll subscribe on the right-hand side below, so right on the bottom of this video here on the right-hand side, you'll see the subscribe button. If you subscribe with me here on my channel, you'll be at least guaranteed to improve quite a bit, because you'll be seeing what we're doing every week. And even if you're just watching, you're going to be learning. So remember, watching is learning. So if you're watching the videos and you maybe don't have time to pick up the brushes and the pencils to draw and paint, if you're watching, you're going to be learning a lot. I watched a ton of videos and tutorials on YouTube as I was working throughout the years in my art career. So there was times I was too tired to paint or draw. I just watched videos and I learned a ton, and it really does help you. If you watch a lot of videos, it will absolutely help you to think through your painting a lot better and also paint and draw better. So be encouraged. You're always going to get better. Stick with it. Enjoy the journey, most of all. Enjoy the journey. Don't get, worried about it if 1 or 2 paintings here and there aren't looking good. Just keep working at it. Okay? All right, so let's start this painting right here. You're going to have a fantastic time working with me. I'm going to explain everything that I'm doing. No hidden secrets here. I'm showing you all that I have, all that I do. I'm giving you all the information I can so that you're going to be able to kind of follow along and see what I'm doing and be able to apply it to your paintings. Okay? All right, so we'll be right back and we'll get started. Okay, so we're going to get started here, and you just saw the finished painting, so we're Going to just work on through the basic fundamentals that we did with this painting, how we kind of got to the end result. Basically, every once in a while, I like to, especially when I was first starting out in watercolor, I really like to try and experiment with different styles of watercolor painting. So I would look at different books, different things on YouTube, online, and I would just try to, work out different styles of painting. So I always felt it really just uplifting and exhilarating and enjoyable to try some new techniques and new looks to my watercolor painting. So I'm hoping that you'll always be open to trying out new styles, new techniques, new methods to your watercolor painting, just in case you might find that you will be inspired to maybe keep painting because you found maybe something that's a little more something that you like, that's a little more appeals to you a little more, because not every technique and method and style of watercolor painting appeals to everyone the same way. So many of you, I know you really enjoy my normal techniques that I use and my methods on my watercolor paintings all the time, and that's absolutely fantastic. And but I also too always want to once in a while take a little offshoot and do something a little different. So I hope you'll enjoy this video. It's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. And I just hope you'll try a few things from it. It's not like you have to do everything I'm doing here or try to replicate exactly what I'm doing, but maybe some of the ideas you might incorporate into a practice style session that you might do on your own. So you might say, okay, I'm doing Chris's normal techniques on a daily basis, but on this video here, I'm going to just try what he's showing to kind of just see how that looks and feels with my style and how I enjoy doing my paintings in a new, fresh way that I haven't done before. And it might work out really good or it might not turn out so good, but the main thing is at least you have some fun and try some new and different things with your watercolor. So the basic thing I did here is I just went and rounded up all the square flat brushes I could find in my studio. So I have about, or not all of them, but quite a few of them that are medium size or small to medium, because we're using a smaller paper here. We're using Arches. We're using Arches hot press paper. It's got the pink cover on it, and if you can see here, it's basically the same weight and the amount of grams that we normally use. 140 pound, 300 gram. This is a 9x12 paper pad. It's a 9x12 pad, and you'll see this all the time if you go online and research Arches paper. It's a gummed block, so it's basically a block of paper with like maybe 20 sheets actually, and they're all gummed together, and you just peel off as you work. If you paint something, you can just peel that top page off your block and then remove it, and then you have another fresh, clean, brand new sheet of paper underneath it. And what's nice about the gum blocks is if you paint with a lot of water and a lot of washes and the paper buckles, if you just let it dry with naturally, or if you even use a blow dryer, it'll come back to a beautiful, nice, even, flat sheet of paper again. So all those buckles will actually go away because it's already taped and gummed on the outer perimeter of the watercolor pad. So these Arches blocks, gummed blocks, are really fun to work with because it actually, if you do a wash, like a glazing or two, and you let it dry, it'll just perform beautifully. It'll go back to the original flat sheet of paper just like you started with. So that's a fun thing to do when you're working with Arches gum blocks. So that's the paper we're using. And again, I have some square brushes here, and pretty much I have like a 1 inch, 3/4, ½ inch, and then maybe down to like 1/4 and 1/8 of an inch over here on the left. And then a couple round brushes. I have one round brush and one needlepoint brush just in case we need. So we have the round brushes just in case we need it, but mostly we're just going to use the flat brushes here in this painting. So I'll put these over on the side. We may not use all of them, but we're just going to have them there, and we'll also have our round brush, small round brush, and a needlepoint brush too, just in case we want to do some finer details with a round brush. And a medium brush doesn't hurt too, a medium round. This is kind of small too. And then maybe like more of a medium-sized round brush like this. Just have a couple round brushes. I like to use round brushes all the time, as you know. So let's get started here. We have our paint all ready to go. And these are more fun, free type of paintings, not incredibly detailed. And this is a place in New Jersey, around the New Jersey shore. So it's always fun. I spent a lot of time when I was young down by the New Jersey shore on vacation in the summer times when we had time off and school was out, and my parents would bring us to vacations down in the New Jersey shore in the United States. So we had a lot of fun times down the New Jersey shore. So this is going to be kind of like that idea of just a fun street scene in the shore area in New Jersey. So I'm going to slide this on over. Well, first let's get a couple angles. That's what I wanted to do first. So we can see up here, this is kind of like a canopy over a storefront here. So let's kind of see where that, well, that actually starts right up here. So you can kind of see that starts right up here. And if we were to take this line of the canopy and go across the canvas, it almost goes straight across to over here like this. So let's get that line. So let's take a ruler and try to utilize lines if you can. If you can find a really powerful, strong line going all the way through your painting, that's a good thing. So let's just take this and make a light pencil line across here, like that. And that's kind of like the canopy here going all the way across and down into the corner of this painting, almost to the corner. It's a little bit above the corner. And then we'll just start working our lines here. So I'm going to go down here, and then there's some signs here, some signage. I'm not going to get too fancy. I'm going to do some light pencil lines first. So I'll tell you what, since it's really hard for you to see these light pencil lines, I'm going to stop the tape now and do a light pencil line of this scene, and then I'll come back and I'll go over with a darker line and I'll explain how I did everything as I'm doing my darker pencil line, because right now my lights are very bright and I almost have to use a really light pencil line to kind of sketch out everything first before I do a darker pencil line. So I'm hoping you'll bear with me on this. Let me do a quick light pencil line and lay things out on this painting. Once I'm done with that, we'll come back and I'll do a darker pencil line and show you how I did all of the drawing for this particular painting. And it's not going to be a lot, actually. We're going to keep it very simple. Okay? All right, so I'll be right back. And at that point, we'll do another really, really strong dark pencil line for all of our drawing here on this painting. And then after that, we'll go in and do the painting portion, which is going to be a lot of fun. There's a lot of bright sunlight in here. It's going to be really a kind of a really interesting painting with a lot of little tidbits of information and lines and little kind of cool details, as well as some larger sky washes and some fun road and sidewalk washes and things like that. So it's going to be kind of fun. It's going to have some details and then some really, really fun, light and easy just washes of watercolor paint on this painting. So, and we're going to simplify it here. You can see there's a lot going on this. We're going to totally simplify this like you can't believe. And that's the technique we're going to use. We're going to use basically like a really abstract style, really, really an abstract painting with few brush strokes and just really kind of having a fun time getting a real basic idea of some of the shapes here that we're seeing in colors. So shapes and colors, not a great amount of detail like we're seeing here in the photograph, but we will capture some of these really interesting details that kind of make up the abstract of what we're looking at. So we want to have the abstract of the shapes of the buildings. We want to have the abstract kind of idea of the sign here, Surf Club here, and then this little marquee sign, and some of these posts, some parking signs, and some, we have a telephone pole here with some power lines and telephone lines, and a light, street light here. So we're going to get in some details here, but not too many. We're going to use them sparingly, our details, and have fun with this. So we're going to have a fun time. Stick with me here. I'll be right back. Okay, so we're just kind of reviewing the beginning of the composition that we're going to do here on this painting. So essentially, I had to really draw it with a really light sketch first, because when you do a preliminary sketch, and you'll hear me always talk about preliminary sketching, the advantage of that is you can really carefully but also lightly pencil in your lines on your painting to get everything the way you want it on your paper first. And then if you do have a little bit of an issue where you have to change a few lines or a few things in your paper, on your paper, you can just do a light, use the eraser, the kneaded eraser, and just lightly lift up some of the pencil lines, and you can correct some things that you need to. The only thing with light preliminary sketching sometimes is it doesn't come out on the video really well, so you won't be able to see me doing it. So I figured instead of me kind of doing a whole sketch here for 20 minutes or 15 minutes, I'll just skip that, do it first, the preliminary sketch off camera, and now we'll come on to the camera now, and I'll show you how I actually did all my lines. So we'll start over here. You can see the picture actually. And then what I did is, we'll go over this with a darker line. I basically used my pencil and my ruler, and I said, okay, let me look at these lines in the picture, and I hold my ruler up to the photograph, and I say, this line here is a real powerful line going across the photograph that goes from basically one corner of this painting, or this is our rectangle here, so we can put a line here if we want. So this is our rectangle here. This is our rectangle that we use. We call it a rectangle. That's the space that we work within. As a watercolor artist, you're going to always be working in your rectangle, whether it's vertical or horizontal like this. So that's our rectangle we're working within. And we notice that in that rectangle, we're kind of just copying and replicating what we're seeing here in an abstract way, this painting, or this photograph. So what I noticed was in the photograph right away, this looks really powerful because there's a great diagonal line going right across the page like this. So that's the first thing I said. I want to capture that. I want to go all the way across the page in a diagonal line all the way across like this first. So that's what I did. I went over here and I just did a light pencil line from one corner of the page to the other corner. And I went a little bit higher than the bottom of the corner here, but about like a half an inch above, or 3/4 of an inch. So now if we were to take that and draw a line with our ruler, we'll kind of see that that's about where we are. So we just take that and go down this way, like that. And then this way, and then we have a couple horizontal lines going this way for the soffits of this canopy on this street scene. So, and then here we have some buildings in the distance. We're just going to keep them very, very abstract, but you can see the street here. So we could even take our ruler and just do our street lines here, like this. So basically, I'm just getting some abstract lines on the paper that kind of go in the same directions as what I'm seeing in this photograph. So I took my ruler and I carefully just lightly sketched, and now I'll just do the dark sketch lines here so you can kind of see. I made the pier over here, so we can even go over here and do this. So over here I made this pier. And we're going to do an abstract painting, so we're not going to have to get this super accurate. So don't worry about it if it's not perfect. Just kind of get the feel of the lines like this. These are all lines going diagonal. Like that. Then there's some signage here. So I just did some scribbly lines like that. I'm not going to get too fancy with that. Then these are windows here, like this, like that, windows, and then more windows here. These are on an angle. These windows are on an angle, like so. Typical of the 80s, 70s, even 60s, 70s, and 80s. The glass is angled, so the wall is the glass windows are actually on an angle, like that. If you want, you can skip any fancy angles and just keep these straight. Maybe I'll do that. I won't get too fancy. Let's do this. Let's do a straight pier here, like this. So I'm just going to do a straight pier like that. Carry that line through here, so this line goes all the way through like that. This diagonal goes all the way up this way, like so. So you're kind of seeing how I'm just building some angles here. But again, I'm going to erase some of this. I'm going to erase some of my pencil lines when I'm done. I just want you to see how I'm drawing this. But I'm going to do this very, very abstract and very loose, so you don't have to draw as much detail as I'm doing here. I just want to show you how I'm getting all of my lines here. That's all I want to do, is make sure you see how I'm doing this all. So over here, we can kind of see the darker windows over here on this building, like so. The angles go the same direction this way. So it's almost like everything is funneling in on a star pattern. And I often talk about the star pattern when you're doing your paintings and your art. The star pattern is just basically perspective. So in this painting like this, so if we're doing this, this is our painting like this, right? That's our basic rectangle here. And then in this painting, we're going across the whole page on an angle like so. And then that kind of like gives us our angle this way. And then over here, we're doing some buildings in the distance over here, like that. We're doing the road here, like so. And then the sidewalk over here, like that. And then there's the telephone pole here, with the lines going this way. And then right along that, we have our sign up here. And we have a really cool sign like this. And it's actually behind the roof line here, so that's actually behind the roof, like that. And another sign over here. Okay, so just generally, this is what we're looking like here, like this. Like that. Can you kind of see how everything's kind of funneling down this way and funneling in this way? This isn't actually here over there, but we have the buildings over here like so, like that. And this is the distance with some cars and things over here. This is the road here. Sidewalk here with a street sign here too. And then we have our storefronts here with some piers. So we have some piers here, and we have some storefront windows here. Storefront windows here. So you can kind of see how that's shaping up to be a really nice street scene with these really powerful angles going through the scene like this and then in like this. So it's almost like it's all funneling in, almost like an exact star pattern. Maybe not perfectly like a star, but you can kind of see how it's all funneling in like this. And that's powerful. If you have a starburst effect in your painting like this, like a star, like a sun, a starburst effect, that always looks great. So just an idea of using angles to kind of direct the focus of your viewer. So if you're creating a painting for a gallery or a friend, or you want to just create an exciting painting, if you use the star pattern, which again is just basically kind of making like in your rectangle, kind of like a star effect, and it doesn't have to be this dramatic like this. like we're doing here. It doesn't have to be this dramatic with really powerful lines. You can do subtle things within your rectangle, your painting, like some seagulls over here, some birds coming down this way, and then maybe a road over here. So maybe you have a road, some seagulls over here, and then maybe some buildings over here. And then maybe over here you have something else, maybe another building over here. Like that. So street scenes are fun. You can do this star effect, which is basically perspective of having angles going into the center of the painting for the most part, leading the viewer to kind of just focus in on the center of the painting. And that's what we're going to do here. We're going to continue. Let's move over here. And we'll finish doing our sign. There we go. So our sign is over here. And we have some interesting colors. A marquee sign over here. Another bit of signage up here with our name of our club here. And then we have an interesting telephone pole here. And you can use a ruler for your telephone lines if you want. Sometimes they come out a little better if you can just get them in with a ruler. Later on we can do them a little bit more loosely, but we just want to kind of get the feel for what they're going to look like with the angles on the page. And then over here, I think we're pretty good. We have a building over here in the distance. That looks pretty good over here. A building in the distance over here, a little bit farther away. Like that. And then before you know it, you have a wonderful, exciting abstract of what we're looking at here. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to do an abstract of this. So let's take a break. You kind of saw how I did everything here. What I'll do is, once I'm done with this, I'm just going to lighten up a little bit with a little bit of pencil, a little bit of eraser. I'm going to erase some of the lines because I want it to be mostly paint. And but I don't mind some pencil lines in there. I like pencil lines in my paintings to show through. But that's good. I kind of lightened it up just a little bit. But you saw the finished drawing, how I did it with the dark pencil lines. And basically you're just trying to copy this, and you can do a more simplistic version of what I did here. You could make it even really like only do maybe like 5 or 10 minutes at most of pencil lines, just to get the idea of the lines coming into the page like this. And over here, and then the telephone pole is a straight line here, so you have a beautiful vertical line here with the telephone pole, and then the sidewalk too in the street, like the curb of the road, the curb of the road here, the curb is right on here on the road, and then you have your telephone pole up here, and then you have your signage up here, and these angles. If you can just get a few of these angles and a few little details, you can create a painting really quick. And I'm going to show you how we're going to paint this actually really fast, really in an abstract way. You'll have a lot of fun with it. And we're not going to suffer over any details. We're just going to go in. We're going to use our flat brushes, our square brushes, and a few round brushes, and we'll take care of this quickly. We're not going to fuss around too much. We're going to really use, our standard brushes we use, which are round brushes for the most part here, and our needlepoint brush. So we have our needlepoint brush, our round brushes, and then we're going to also use a lot of the square brushes, whatever ones we can find in our studio. So if you have some of these laying around, please grab them up, your flat square brushes, and we're going to use these a lot too in this painting. And we'll also use, again, some of these round brushes for some detail. I'll be right back. We'll start painting, and you're going to see how fun this is. We'll get this done in like maybe 10, 15 minutes, okay? I promise you. All right, we'll be right back. Okay, so we're back, and we're actually working from our photograph here. And I think we have a good, strong pencil sketch here, which we covered in detail. Next, we're going to mix up some sky wash. Let's do we're going to do this in glazing, so we're going to work the glazing technique here, which means we're going to do the lights first, and then we'll do the darks on the second and third washes. So the glazing technique is real straightforward. You get your lights in first, so that would be like your light sky washes, and you get that done first, maybe some light shadowing in the picture, and then once you're done with that, then you start working over with some darker washes, but you have to let the first wash dry completely. So we'll do that. We'll make sure that our first wash dries completely, and then the second thing we want to do before we even start, you always hear me rant and rave about getting your spotlight in your picture, which is your light source. So we're going to basically show that our light source is up here. This is our spotlight. Okay, so I always mention that. Please get your light insignia, your spotlight insignia on your painting, on your tape. So you tape around your painting first, a little bit of tape, maybe 1/4 of an inch, 1/2 inch. So this way you can make some hash marks on there, and you can do your light insignia here. You have a couple things you want to put on your tape, and then when you peel off your tape too, you have a nice beautiful border around your painting. All right, so now let's do this. Let's get some fresh clean water on the paper right over the top in the sky area, just like so. So I'm putting in some fresh clean water where the sky washes are going to be. This is again Arches satin paper, which is extremely smooth paper. It's not rough paper whatsoever, and that's what's great about it when you're doing these abstract paintings like this, where we're just going to go real fast. You will notice that everything just goes smoothly, and there's no real hassles anywhere with your washes. You just kind of zip right through it. And I'll just get some washes on this too, a little bit here and there. No big deal. We'll get some damp paper going. Then we're going to go in and grab some cerulean blue, like so. And then when we do the cerulean blue, let's get some raw umber to gray down that cerulean blue just a little bit. So mix some raw umber over here, and then your cerulean blue over here, and you can kind of muddy up your blue a little bit, which will be better. It'll kind of give it a nice warm and cool feel. The warm is the raw umber, and the cool is the cerulean blue. And then you just kind of zip your sky across like this, just like this. Again, nothing fancy. You're just getting these washes in right across the page, like so. Okay, you can add a little bit of cobalt if you want, cobalt blue, maybe to get a little bit more blue in there if you want to. Some more stronger blue. Leave some white paper, some white streaks in the sky too. You don't want to totally cover your white paper here. You want to leave some white paper. Okay, and then where your raw umber comes in handy is over here in the lower portion of the sky. So that's where I'll put some of that raw umber in the lower portions of the sky, like that. Usually the sky tends to have a little bit of a warmer hue at the bottom of the sky, like that. Perfect. Then we'll go in and get some more blue, and we'll just get some light wash on the road and sidewalk here. Now the sidewalk here is pretty bright. There's a little bit of wash on the sidewalk, but not too much, so I can even take a tissue and maybe wipe off a little bit of the wash, just so it has a tiny bit of color to it. Light wash, super light wash on the sidewalk, but on the road it's darker. And we'll go even darker than this. We'll go over this with another wash. But now we're just going over with the lighter washes. And then what we notice is, again, I'm using this one brush here. This is a number 12 Robert Simmons white sable, number 12 white sable, Robert Simmons. This is just what I happen to have. Any square brush about 1/2 inch or 3/8 of an inch is going to work for you, fine. And then here we have a little bit of shadow on this these beams here. I need a little more raw umber to this blue. And I could use a smaller brush now too, so I'll switch over to a little bit smaller brush. This is a number 6 Princeton and Art Brush Company, number 6 brush. So you can sort of switch down to a smaller brush so you can get a little more it's easier to handle a smaller brush to get your washes in, if that makes sense. If you use too large a brush, that can be a hassle because it really kind of causes a bit of a problem. So this is all dark here. Okay, this is darker under here, like so. So you can kind of see I'm just getting my washes in. The light's on this area here, the bright sunlight, so I want to make sure I don't cover that over. So leave white paper where you can to try to create the light. But again, we're going fast and fun and free here. We don't have to worry too much. Blues and raw umber, so you're just doing your shadows under here. And again, you're having fun. Just throw on the washes. Don't be trying to do too much. Accuracy is not good. You want to be not that accurate. Okay. So already we can see we've left some good lights here. White paper, white paper, white paper up here, white paper over here. We're going to do darker darks over here, so we could actually fill this in over here with some blue and green. Again, we're using that same wash. There's a building over here. And then some more buildings over here. These are shadows over here. Okay. All right, this looks good. Okay, so we've got the first wash on. I think we're pretty much good for the first wash. We could go over this here area. And then there's some more lighter blue washes over here. So that looks okay like that. Okay, and then a little bit of raw umber over here. This sign, this marquee sign is got some of that raw umber look to it. Same thing up here. I'm using that raw umber kind of feel. So I'm getting some of that raw umber with a little bit of water. Not too much water though, but I want to add some raw umber to the sign here. This sign up here has lettering on it, and it's kind of got a shadowy look to it. So I'm going to put that raw umber underneath, and we'll go over with a darker wash. Now remember, we said we're doing darker washes over lighter washes here. We're doing the glazing technique, and many of you that work all the time on my channel, you're doing a phenomenal job. You kind of, this is like for you, old school, you kind of just know this already, old hat. It's basically a light wash first, like we just did here with the raw umber, cerulean blue, and then a little bit of cobalt blue we used too. So that's our 3 colors, only those 3 colors. Very light washes over the whole painting. We did the sky wash, we did the road, we left some very, very light wash on the sidewalk. And then these buildings over here, we pretty much left white paper over here, white paper in the windows. We'll go darker though on the window areas later. But for right now, this looks perfect. So if you've got this much done so far where you got your sketch in, and then you got some really light washes of, again, cerulean blue and raw umber on your page, you are like 100% set, because then all you have to do now is let this dry 100%. Use a blow dryer if you want, or you let it dry naturally for like an hour or two. Depends on how warm your area is that you're working in. So you might be in your kitchen, you might be in your dining room, your living room, your bedroom. I don't know where you work with your studio. Maybe the basement, you have your own little spot. Wherever little spots you like to figure out where you like to paint. They might be different temperatures. You might work in the basement where it's cooler, or you might have a sunroom where it's a little bit warmer, let's say, like if you're working in a different area where it's warmer climate. So your climate really will kind of have a big effect on your watercolor painting. So if you live in a warm climate, your paintings tend to dry pretty quick and you won't have to worry too much about using a blow dryer. But if you're in a cooler climate, you might have to use your blow dryer once in a while. But the main thing is, once you get this first wash done, let it dry 100%. And then we move on to the darker washes, and you're going to have a fun time doing the dark washes over this, because that's really where everything comes together and you just see a beautiful painting come to life when you do the darker darks over the top of this really light wash first. So this is the key. First light wash, get that done, let it dry 100%, and then you go in an hour or two later, or if you have a blow dryer, you can do it in 10 minutes, and then you can start your dark washes. So let's start. We're going to start in just a second our dark washes. And if you're having fun so far, I always mention, please subscribe on the right-hand side below on this video. You'll see a little subscribe button. If you want to keep following along with us here, we're all working together doing watercolor paintings every week. So if you want to keep working with us, together with us all here on my channel at Chris Petri on YouTube, you just click the subscribe button, and then you'll just be kind of joining along with us every weekend or every week whenever you like to watch the videos. But we're making new videos every week. We do everything, like we do flowers, we do street scenes like this, we do landscape, we do buildings, city scenes, we do flower paintings, we'll do portrait paintings once in a while, and figure paintings. And so we do everything here. It's all watercolor, so you'll really have a lot of fun. And we also have a beginner series where if you're just starting out in the very, very beginning of your journey in watercolor, you're going to want to check my videos out, and you just type in Extreme Beginners. So if you just type in Extreme Beginners into YouTube, you'll see all my videos that are kind of like geared towards if you're just starting. So if you're here for the first time, welcome. And again, it's all about if you're just starting out and you're an extreme beginner, you're just getting involved in watercolor for the first time, you definitely don't want to like get maybe too involved with a lot of fancy palettes like this and whatever. You just want to start out with a real simple palette, and I show you on the Extreme Beginner series how to start out real simple. You can buy like a new palette for like $10. You can buy brushes for like another $10. You can get like 6 or 8 brushes for $10. And that's it. You're all ready to go. You got to buy a little bit of paper, and that's it. You're ready to start painting, drawing and painting in watercolor. You can start practicing along with this every week. You can watch these videos too, which are more, advanced paintings, which is the regular videos that I do on my channel are more advanced, intermediate to advanced watercolor artists. But you can watch these too, learn a lot from watching these videos. Okay, so I'm going to shut up now and actually let this dry, and I'll come back and start the dark washes over top. All right, we're back in this bit. This is pretty much dry already. I might have to add a little bit of some blow drying to this, but I think this is pretty good. But before I do this, I just wanted to mention that this is a little tidbit of information while you're doing this painting, and then you're going to start painting in the details of maybe some of the lettering on your marquee here and on your sign for your hotel or your club or these stores that are here. When you're doing some signage and you want to get some lettering done, this is a fun way to do lettering that you can't go wrong. Okay, so let's say we have our 2 bits of our sign here. If you want to get those letterings complete, the lettering and the type of those signs there, you can always do this. You draw blocks, basically. So you have 4 letters and 4 letters. That's really easy. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? You just do 4 blocks for each letter. So 1 block for each letter. You count your letters and go 1, 2, 3, 4. Surf. 1, 2, 3, 4, club, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then when you go in and you start painting this sign, you're going to paint, and as you paint, you're just going to block in the letters like this as you're going, as you're painting. And that's all you need is that little bit of a, if you get that square in there, that square shape for your letters, you can do it like this. And then your R is like this. And that you'll paint around your blocks. And you just look at your blocks and say, okay, how do I have to do this? Okay, there's 1, there's 2. Up top, you go around. So imagine if my Sharpie is a paintbrush. You just paint around your blocks like that. And you say, oh wow, yeah, that's like this. And you just keep painting around it until you arrive at your lettering like that. Surf. So we got our surf done, and you do the same thing here for your C. You just block in your C like so. Like that. And you're just doing your painting. So you're using your paintbrush. So imagine my Sharpie again is my paintbrush, and you're painting on this sign, and you just go around it like that. And then there's the L, club, U, you do that, the U, and then the B. You do some round shapes there, and like that. And that's how you would actually do this really simply and easily so that you can get this rendered quickly. Again, we're not taking, 10 hours to try to create these signs and things like that. And then for your marquee underneath here, like so, your marquee, that's even easier yet. You're just going to freehand draw it like this. Just freehand draw the lettering in like this. And if you want to draw some lines with a ruler first, you can draw in some level lines with a ruler first, like so, like that. And then you just draw in your lettering right between each of the lines. But they don't have to be perfect, and you don't have to spell out this verbiage here. You can just do some real loose letter looking type things. You don't have, but this you want to nail this and get this done nice, the surf club type thing like up here. You definitely want to get that really looking good like so. If you want, you don't have to do that either too. You could leave it more abstract. But I think if you can get the surf club in really good, and then this here, you don't have to worry. You can just make these kind of loose or draw in the letters, but just don't fuss over it. Just kind of draw it in and get it done, and then you'll be all, and we'll do it that way. So you'll see how I do it, but wanted to mention to you that if you draw cubes first or squares first, that's how you can really get some nice lettering. Like the S is like this, U is like this, and then you just paint around it, and you get the lettering really nice, like so. Okay, all right, let's start the painting. Oh my God, we're taking forever now to get the painting started. Oh. But that goes a long way if you do that. So I'm going to do my squares right here with pencil first. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then over here the same thing. 1, I'm drawing squares. 1, 2, 3, and 4 up there. And then I'll just do some light pencil lines across here for my marquee. That looks really cool. Okay, now let's get painting. So what are we going to do with our paints? Where are we going to start? Let's do our darkest darks first. And I'll use, again, this is a number 6 Princeton Art and Brush Company. Number 6, I'm going to go with some burnt umber, raw umber, and French ultramarine blue. Get a little bit of a dark here. All right, and that's kind of like how it looks in the painting, in the photograph. A little more blue, darker dark. And we're going to try to replicate what we see in the okay, and that's it. I'm not going to do any more to that. Raw umber. This is a little bit of a raw umber kind of feel for the storefront here. So this storefront is raw umber, like that. So I'm just going to go quickly, like that. Boom, done. Okay, then there's a little details on the outside here. So I'm just going to do some. Okay, that's good. Okay, now I'm going to bump up to a larger brush here. And this is the number 12 again, White Sable, Robert Simmons, 762B. Okay, now we're going to do some interesting colors, which will be these here, plus maybe some cerulean blue and cobalt blue. Again, we're going to use the same colors. And let's just kind of mix those three or four colors together. And we're just going to do some. And again, I'm not going to I'm not doing as much detail as we see here in the photos. I'm just using my square brush. I'm leaving some light white paper in there too, like that. And there's some darks too. French ultramarine blue, burnt umber, raw umber. Then there's some of these window panes. So there's like window frames. You want to do those. I think that looks good like that, but I want to keep it abstract. I want to keep it abstract there. And then we have over here a little more of the same kind of thing. A little more warmer colors, a little more raw umber. You can kind of see how I'm just that's it. Again, you can kind of tell I'm not going with 1,000 brush strokes here. I'm going simple and quick. I'm going to get some more of that warm color here, some of that raw umber. In this area here, I noticed it's a little bit it's got a little bit too much coolness, so I want to okay, and some lines this way. There we go. I know a lot of you are going to find this really fun to do this type of painting where you just kind of, we're going to do our road now here. So I'm going to do the roadway. This is a little bit dark too. Let's get this in. This will balance these darks over here if we get this in a little bit darker. But I realize a lot of you that paint with me every week, every day, every week, sometimes you might get a little bored with the same old routine. So that's why I try to change up a little bit and kind of encourage everybody, try a new technique once in a while, a new style of painting. Why not? It's not going to hurt anything. You might try and say, oh, wow, I like this. This is kind of cool. And the next thing you know, you might be kind of venturing out on a new style that you might find for yourself. And it works better with what you want to do, what you want to accomplish with your artistic pursuits. You know, sometimes everyone doesn't want to paint exactly the same way all the time, so that's why I try to encourage everybody to, try different things. So again, this is more of an abstract painting. You can see I'm going through it quick. I'm not going to do a lot more other than just get the signs in over here, and that might be all I'm going to do actually. So let's keep working. Now I'm going to work with, again, let's use the number 6 Princeton. And this is kind of we're going to use cadmium red. That's an exciting color. Maybe some burnt sienna, some burnt umber. So I'm going to try to make and a little bit of blue. And what I'm doing is making a kind of not a too overpowering red. So if we just went with cadmium red on this sign here, that would be too strong. It would look too powerful according to the rest of the painting. So now I'm going to gray it down a little bit, and that looks pretty good. It's red, it looks good, but it's not too overly exciting and, has too much chroma. Okay, and use whatever brush you feel comfortable with. Okay. I hope you're all having fun doing this painting with me. Okay, there we go. Now, let's use our round brush to do our lettering. It's going to be a little easier to do our lettering and our signage up here with a round brush. So I'm going to take my round brush, burnt umber and French ultramarine blue, a little bit of raw umber too. Let's kind of get this over here, mix it down a little bit. That looks pretty good. A little more cobalt blue maybe. So get the color you want. That looks good. I like that. That looks good. Kind of like almost like that looks like a Prussian blue, a muddy Prussian blue there. So it's not quite a real powerful Prussian blue, but it has that look of like a cooler, like a green and blue with the muddiness of a little bit of burnt umber in there. That really looks good. And now we're just going to go right in there and zip this sign in like so. Don't take forever. Try to do it as fast as you can without, messing it up. And then we'll do this. I get my blocks. Again, I'm doing my blocks. Remember we talked about doing the squares? You do your squares. Bam. You got your squares in. Then you do your S here like that. S. U. We're doing an R. I'm leaning into my paint. I have to be careful of that. S-U-R, so an R is like this. An R is a dot with a rounded portion there, like that. And then another bit there, and then we're doing an F. F is like so. Then we put a line there. And then we shorten that one there. There we go. Surf. Look at how good that looks. And you did it all with just blocking it out a little bit. Didn't take you much time, did it? No. It didn't. And that's why you did it. Club. So we have a C like that. L. Okay. L and then a U. And then a B. B is two kind of rounded shapes here on the end. that. Perfection. Look at how good that looks. We're done. We have the signs done. Look how good that looks. Okay, now we're going to do the marquee. Let's get some gold in there, some raw umber, and some yellow ochre. And let's do our marquee sign. There we go. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, that's the marquee sign for the most part. Pretty simple, right? Once that golden outer edge dries, then you can put some lights on there, some little dots for your marquee lights. Now, for the writing, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to use that same kind of like brick red. It kind of looks like a brick, common brick red. Okay, and then this is Starfield, and okay, so it looks like some letters fell off the sign. I don't know what it says. Starfield, it does say. So I'm just going to do that. Quick little star. Blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah there. And blah, 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 blah there. Boom, done. Good. Okay, now let's do some of that red for the bulbs. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to do some small bulb shapes. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's all you have to do. A couple of those dots along there. That's good. This part over here, again, I'm going to use the blue that we mixed up. Like we said, it was a Prussian blue with a little bit of the brown. And so we basically made this blue by using burnt umber, French ultramarine blue, and a little bit of raw umber. Now here there's some signage up here, so let's do this. Like just pretend we're making some signage. You can do it however you think you need to do this, or you can leave it out too. If you don't want to do this signage up here on the right hand side on the photograph here we're looking at, you can kind of see it over here if I put it over here. If you don't want to do this signage up here, you don't have to do that. I'm just going to do it really quickly and just pretend there's some lettering there. I'm going to use some light wash. I'm going to water this down a little bit. I'm going to take my brush and dry it off on a tissue so I don't have too much paint on there. And then I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to pretend I'm putting on some writing. Then here I kind of see there's something that I think it says goods. Then I'll take a little bit of the darker paint, put a couple spots on there. Good enough. Then I'll take more of that paint, light wash, dry off a little bit of that, and I'll put some of the shadowing under here. Like that. Okay, good enough. What else we're going to do? Let's take a break. This is a perfect time for a break. We've done quite a bit of painting. We've got a lot of our darker washes now over the top of our first glazing. Incidentally, we did say you have to let that first wash dry with the really light sky washes that we did and some of the shadowing and some of the lighter washes of these buildings over here. You have to let this all dry 100%. Then we go in and we do our darker washes like you see here. So we're doing all these darker washes in the windows over here, the road, this sign up here. These have to be done when this is 100% dry, your first wash, your first glazing. So always remember that with the glazing technique. It's so simple if you just remember your first light wash that you do on your glazing has to dry 100%, because if you try painting in any of these other washes, it's going to look terrible if you don't let it dry 100%. All right, so let's take a break, and I know you've already done a great job so far, so beautiful work, and we'll get finishing up here actually. We're going to do the telephone pole, little details on the buildings over here, and I think we'll be completed actually. So we're almost like 90% done here. All right, let's come right back and finish up in just a second. We want to take a break. All right, so now we're going to finish up our painting here. Let's do a few more details here. There we go. Just wanted to do that little bit of that red structure, which is the sign. And this could use a little bit, this is the light's coming from this direction. So we could actually do a little bit of some light on the signs here. Like that and like this. So you could put some lighter lights on the sides of these signs. Which kind of make them look three-dimensional. So you have a little bit of a light shadow on this side of the signs. Can you see that, how I did that? Just a little bit, kind of really adds to it. Makes it look pretty good. Same thing with the marquee. You could take the marquee and just add a little bit of a light wash on the side of the marquee there. Okay, now let's do this is a little tip or a little bit of a tidbit of information if you want. If you want to get a straight like utility pole or communication pole or whatever you're going to do here, you just put a piece of drafting tape or painter's tape alongside that pole like that. Then you get your dark paint. Get some good dark paint on there, right? Then you dry off some of that paint on a tissue so that your brush doesn't have too much paint on it. And then you can just go right alongside the tape carefully, like this. So you paint half on the tape, half on the paper. And then when you lift up the tape, you have a perfect line. Then you can go across and do the you can do the details of the top of the communication lines. Then you can do some of the communication wires more loosely if you want. You can grab a, I like to use my needlepoint brush for that. So I take that needlepoint brush, just like this, get some of the paint on there, dry off a little bit of the paint on a tissue, and then I can just turn my hand this way and just go like this and just do a quick couple little, like that. And then I can come down here and just do a couple little quick, like that. Like that, perfect. That's all you need is a couple lines like that. That's all we need. You can always lift up a little bit with the tissue, just to soften that up a little bit, but I think that looks pretty good. You can add another communication pole over here if you want. There might be another one in the distance here. That's maybe a little bit next to this one. Like that. So you can always do another communication pole over here. That looks good. Then here we're going to do tiny bit of details here. Let's do a little details here under the roof of this building over here. And there's some lines on this building, so we're going to do some lines across here like so. You can even take your needlepoint brush, get a little bit of darker darks under there, like so. Like like that. You could take your round brush, do a couple darks like this, so we have some dark. So we do some darks on this building over here on the left. Make some details on the building just a little bit, like so. Then maybe over here in the distance, there's some more very, very fine details over here. Just some buildings over here. There's some buildings in the distance over here. Then I can lift up a little bit of paint on those. Okay. And then as your buildings go into the distance, you add a little more blue to them. And you can put in some details as much as you want. I try to keep it pretty simple there. Like that. I'll get some darker darks just to kind of get some just a couple little quick lines like this. Okay, then over here on the sidewalk, there's some shadows. Just a little bit of shadows here. And I'll just put a couple of some sidewalk lines over here, like so. Like that. A little bit of gold color here. I want to do some warm and cool, so there's mostly cool over here. So let me add some warm and cool. I'll put some red in there too. Some of that red that we use for this up here for our signage. I'm going to put some of that red in the buildings over here. Maybe some too in the roadway. So if you can harmonize your colors at this point, please do. Add a little bit of red to your roadway. Add a little bit of red to your buildings over here if you have to get some of this red over here, and then even some over here. Add some red into your windows over here. These are the windows. Better off you add some red, a little bit of red everywhere, because you have this red up here in the sign. So that's why I'm going to do that. And you will agree, I think, with me that if you harmonize your colors, you're going to have much better luck with having your painting look really beautiful. So that's why I'm doing this. I'm adding some of that red here, you can see, and then over here too. Some of that red there. Even some in the shadows here, in the soffits of this roof area here. Just a little bit of red. Not too much, a tiny bit. A little bit of the raw umber over here on the wall. A little bit of raw umber on the wall. A little bit of raw umber on the sidewalk. So the sidewalk gets a little bit of raw umber and red. Let's put a little bit of red too in the sidewalk, just a tiny bit. For that warm kind of feeling, the sidewalks here. You can, at this point in time, you can touch up a little things. If you have any problems with some things, you can add a little bit of white. I'm going to add a little bit of white to go over some of these spots that I smudged with my hand. I leaned into my painting and you can do that. You can add a little bit of white paint just to cover over some spots. A couple more shadows. You can see a couple more spots you might need some shadows. All right, I hope you enjoyed this. I'm going to do a little bit of a line for the curbing here. So there's a little bit of a curb here. You could even get really exciting and do a little bit of more yellow there. Now this yellow isn't anywhere else in the painting, but I think you could do that. That might look pretty cool. Maybe you could take that yellow too and just put it a few other spots, maybe. Maybe a couple spots here and there, maybe in the windows. Maybe up here. Maybe over here. So I'm going to take that yellow and just put it in a few places. That's cadmium yellow. So I put it subtly in a few other places around the painting, that cadmium yellow. But the main place we have it is right here where the curb is. And I think that looks really good. All right, everybody, we had fun doing this painting. I'm so happy you came along and tried it. I hope if you find that you enjoy this style of painting where you kind of do a little more loose type painting where you're not doing as much fine detail and you kind of just get it in quick, get the washes in fast. You're doing the glazing technique. Let's take off our tape around our painting. You can see how it looks. It looks even better when we lift off the tape. Kind of isolates what we do. Acts as a border, like we framed it. Maybe looks a little better. All right. Looks good. Maybe I could do a little darker dark over here on the French ultramarine blue and burnt umber. I think we could use a little darker dark here. I'm carefully putting in some darker dark here. Burnt umber, French ultramarine blue with my needlepoint brush. Okay, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you on the next video. And happy painting. Enjoy the process and enjoy the journey of watercolor. And we'll see you soon.